So Keith, thanks for talking to me. Something I've noticed is there's still a lot of confusion in the market over breast tomography formats. Can you tell me a little bit more about breast tomography and the file formats we see in DICOM?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Kyle. What we've seen is, tomography was developed, out of a necessity to advance the benefits of mammography, and it was developed in the early 2000s. And leading developers were, obviously Hologic was the bleeding edge, and in the beginning there was no DICOM object that was created to store those formats, right? So Hologic did the best that they could, and they started storing these in a secondary capture object or an SCO format. So as time went on, the DICOM committee developed a standard called BTO, Breast Tomo Object, and uh, and that format really allows the PACS vendors to store and display and ingest and aggregate the data that's stored in the DICOM tags. Over time, what we've seen is, that there's a continued adherence to that SCO format, and the impact to a breast center or a hospital environment is that, in that format, you're kind of tied to reading on that vendor's diagnostic reading station. So the Hologic reading station or the Siemens reading station, those vendors' reading stations, because they're the ones that can interpret and view that format. The reason being that within that format, all of the imaging data is stored in private tags. So in order to read those private DICOM tags, that vendor has to pull them out and interpret it. And it just presents a big headache for most PACS vendors to kind of decode and interpret that format.
So you're saying SCO is a proprietary format and BTO is the standard?
It essentially it is. So SCO is a normal DICOM format, but it's being used in a non-standard way.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Now, is there any advantage to the SCO format that a hospital or imaging center might choose to use it?
Yeah. So in the SCO format, the storage size, for each one of these studies is considerably smaller, and due to the way that the study is stored and compressed in the private tags, as you move to a BTO format, the size of that study does expand. It's decompressed and stored in the BTO format. So the size could be, as much as, 60 to 80% larger in the BTO format.
Wow, that's a big format. Now, you said that when you move from SCO to BTO, does that mean that there's opportunities to change the format?
Yeah. So typically what we see is that hospitals and radiology groups, radiologists want to be able to read remotely, right? So everything in today's world, radiologists want to be distributed. You want specialized reading, and in order to do that, the best method would be to read directly off of a PACS environment. And in order to do that, and PACS to be able to interpret the data, it really has to be in BTO format. So there has to be a change at the modality to start storing in BTO, and a conversion of the data that's already stored in PACS to the BTO format in order to be able to interpret and display those prior studies.
Well, Keith, thanks for clearing some of that up for me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle.